Hello and welcome to the FL Studio video tutorial for audio recording. In this tutorial, you'll learn how to set up FL Studio to receive audio, how to record audio into your project, and how to apply some basic processing to your recordings. Recording audio into FL Studio is easy and intuitive, so let's get started. To begin, you should have FL Studio correctly set up to record audio. Access the options for audio recording. Click Options and Audio Settings. In the output panel, there is a menu with all the available devices on your system. FL Studio supports the ASIO standard, and you should select the ASIO driver for your sound card to record into FL Studio. If you don't have an ASIO compatible sound card, don't worry, as you can record using the built-in FL Studio Wave Editor. Of course, you should also set up your external recording source, whether it's a turntable, microphone, or any other audio source, so that it's feeding the correct input at a good level. Once your FL Studio software is correctly set up to record audio, the next thing that you'll need to do is to set up a project that you'll record into. FL Studio automatically loads a blank project when you start it up, but we'll open a pre-existing project to give ourselves a head start. Okay, now this track sounds great. Let's say you want to replace a track or add a new track of audio to the project. First of all, we need to prepare the track or tracks that we'll record to, which we'll do in the mixer window. Press the disk icon on the routing panel. In the browse dialog that opens, select the name and location for the WAV file to be recorded. The disk icon turns orange to show that the track is ready to be recorded. Next, we need to set up our recording options. In the disk recording submenu, you should check 32-bit floating point recording if you wish to record a 32-bit WAV file. While we're here, we can check the Auto Create Audio Clip function to insert the resulting audio clip in the playlist audio track after recording is completed. Now we have finished setting up the audio recording options and we're ready to go. In the transport panel, enable the record button. And when you're ready to record, press play. And when you want to end the recording, press stop. Okay, now that we have finished recording, let's play it back. Okay, now we have successfully recorded an audio file and included it as a new part in our project. It's as simple as that. Now you can treat this audio the same way as any other sample you have loaded in your project. You can adjust levels and panning. You can also apply processing such as sends and insert effects by using the mixer window. The possibilities are endless. Hello and welcome to the FL Studio video tutorial on automation and recording. In this tutorial, you'll learn how to automate controllers in the FL Studio environment. Almost any controller movement in FL Studio can be recorded, so that it turns or slides exactly as you want it to the next time you play the song. After recording the automation, you can refine your recorded events using the event editor. If you have an external MIDI controller, you can use it to tweak the automated control as well. Automation in FL Studio is easy and intuitive, so let's get started. To start with, we need to know if the perimeter that we wish to control can be automated. Open up a project, such as the one we have here, and select a perimeter you wish to control. In this example, we'll be tweaking a hi-hat's pan control. If a perimeter can be controlled or linked to an external controller, small red icon will appear under the menu as you place your mouse over the perimeter. Here you can see as I place my mouse over the pan perimeter, a small red icon appears under the help menu. There are several ways to add live tweaks to your project, and in this tutorial we'll be looking at probably in the most common way, which is to use a MIDI controller such as a MIDI keyboard. To use your MIDI controller or keyboard in FL Studio, first ensure that you have selected the proper driver in the Remote Control Input menu, which is located under the Options MIDI Settings menu. Select the correct driver in the Remote Control MIDI Input. Then select to enable MIDI Remote Control, which is located under the Options menu, if you haven't already done so. Next, we want to link the perimeter to be automated by the MIDI device. Right-click on the perimeter, and from the pop-up menu, select Link to Controller. Next, the Remote Control dialog box will appear. And in this dialog, the most important thing we need to do is to choose a MIDI channel and controller to link the perimeter to. FL Studio can automatically detect and set the MIDI controller. All you need to do is to tweak the desired perimeter from your MIDI controller. But before we do that, let's take a look at some of the other options on this dialog box. If Omni mode is not checked, FL Studio will only link the current perimeter to this controller. Otherwise, all perimeters of the same type are automatically linked to it. For example, if this option is turned off, then you link the volume perimeter in all channels will be linked to the same controller, and the MIDI input gets the currently selected channel. When the Remove Conflicts option is enabled, FL Studio will remove any conflicts, such as linking two wheels to the same controller. You can click the Reset button to reset all remote control settings, including mapping, formula, and smoothing. Okay, now that we have done that, I'm going to turn the pan perimeter with the volume wheel on my external MIDI keyboard. Having a closer look, you can see the pan control being moved. Next, in the transport panel, enable the record mode. Then hit play and record your automation. Okay, we should now be able to play it back. It is as easy as that. As well as the regular FL Studio perimeters, it is also possible to automate the FL Studio effect perimeter. To do this, you'll proceed just as you would with any other FL Studio perimeter. Launch it from the mixer window, and right-click on the effect perimeter you wish to automate, and select Link Controller, which we have already done. This is also true for any VST effect. And that's about it. We hope you enjoyed this tutorial and now have a good feel for using the automation features in FL Studio. Of course, there isn't time in a short video to cover all the possible options. FL Studio comes with excellent online documentation, which you can use alongside this tutorial to answer more detailed questions as your knowledge of the program increases. Thanks for your attention and have fun with FL Studio.
The FL Studio Direct Wave Sampler instrument introduces multi-velocity sampling combined with a full-blown synthesis section into the repertoire of sampling capabilities in FL Studio. It even includes the ability to sample VST plugins, automatically building the sample program including finding loop points in the samples. The top part of the plugin, called the Zone Window, is made up of a sample list containing all samples used in the patch, and the samples that appear here now are from a VSTI that I sampled into Direct Wave. Below that is the Zone Mapper, where you map the sample for pitch and velocity range. Below the Zone window are three tabs: Program, containing global controls; Zone, containing sample synthesis parameters; and the Sample tab, where you control sample start and looping functionality. To the right is the Direct Wave browser. Use this to find samples to use, as well as load Direct Wave programs. Clicking on the Options button above the LED output reveals other options associated with the plugin, as well as the VST plugin sampling section. A sample can be added by double-clicking its name in the browser, and a new zone will automatically be created. To add more zones, right-click in the sample list and select New Zone. Double-clicking a sample name in the browser will now add it to the new zone. The sample will appear in the zone mapper below. adjust the zone range and velocity split using the sample control points at the top and bottom of the active sample zone box. The box itself can be placed on different pitches by dragging and dropping. Each zone has a root key associated with it, which is indicated by the red key on the keyboard. You can change the root key by right-clicking on another note on the keyboard. Changes you make here will be reflected in the sample list columns above. A sample that you select in either the sample list or in the zone mapper can then be edited in the sample tab. Here you can define the sample start, the loop start and end points, as well as the looping type. You can also sample directly into a new zone. To do this, you'll need to insert direct wave as an effect on a track. You will first need to insert a new zone. Press the monitor switch to hear the input, and when you are ready to begin sampling, press record. Direct wave will wait for input, showing a yellow record button, and will begin recording, showing a red button, the moment input is received. Now let's go back to the samples I started off with. Once you have edited your sample loop points, you'll probably want to then affect the sample using the synthesis features found in the zone tab. Note that these parameters can be set per zone, globally for all zones. Set the button in the edit section to current to edit the current zone, or global to edit all zones. The zone tab is made up of the standard synthesis modules at the top and effects at the bottom. The synthesis modules include a main section containing pitch, gain and panning, 2 variable type filters which can operate in series or in parallel, and you turn the filter on by selecting any type other than off. Also included are an amplitude envelope as well as 2 modulation envelopes, and 2 LFOs with variable waveforms. Finally, there is a modulation matrix that allows you to modulate up to 16 parameters using a variety of sources and going to a large range of destinations. To assign modulation, choose a source in the top drop-down and a destination in the bottom drop-down. Then use the amount knob to control the positive and negative effect the modulation has on the destination. The effects are made up of a ring mod, decimator, quantizer and phaser. Each effect is activated by clicking on the switch next to the name. Direct wave contains several more processor-intensive effects in the program tab: delay, reverb and chorus, which can assign varying amounts of signal from each zone to be sent. Control this amount using the send knobs. Note that editing while switching between current and global modes can result in a little confusion. For example, if you select a zone and change its amp envelope sustain level while in current mode, and then you switch to global mode and change the global sustain amount, that change will then override the changes made in current mode. However, changing a setting in global mode does not then override all other settings made in current mode. Perhaps the best practice would be to initially make all alterations in global mode and then go back and edit individual settings in current mode. Once you have finished editing your program, you'll want to save it. Go to the Program tab and click on the area below where it says Name and choose Save or Save As. From here you can also create new programs, open programs, rename the current program, set the output that the current program is going to, as well as open up the Direct Wave Options window. You can also set up to 128 alternative programs loaded within the current program that can then be altered using MIDI program change commands. A great feature of the Direct Wave Sampler is the ability to sample other VST plugins, great for giving you access to otherwise CPU-intensive sounds without the performance hit. To do this, open the Direct Wave options by clicking on the Options button, and then open a VST plugin by clicking on the Open Dialog button and browsing to where your VST plugins are, and select the plugin. If the plugin has presets associated with it, you can select the patch you want to use in the selected program drop-down. If you need to edit the patch, then open up the plugin interface by clicking on the up-pointing arrow. Once you're happy with the sound and ready to sample, set up the sampler for what you need. Set the lowest and highest key numbers you want to sample, as well as how many notes per sample range you want. i.e., if you set it to 1, then every note will be sampled. If you set it to 5, then every 5 notes will be sampled, and the notes in between will reference this sample. Set the number of velocity splits. Remember, the key step and velocity split settings will affect how many samples will actually be created. This, combined with the sampling length, will affect how big the final pool of samples will be. Once you're ready to go, hit the Process button and Direct Wave will do its thing, even finding suitable loop points for longer samples. Hopefully this brief overview has given you a sense of the sampling power available in the FL Studio Direct Wave plugin. The FL Studio 6 mixer has considerably enhanced and more powerful functionality compared to previous versions. Key amongst these enhancements is the ability to route audio from one track and up to 64 tracks in the mixer, along with the send tracks in the master track. For users of previous versions of FL Studio, you may remember that the send level notes for each track were in the track property box over by the EQ and volume controls. Now in this An important thing to note with this new mixer router functionality is that it is not possible to set up circular dependencies within the mixer. Once you have routed signals from one track into another, you cannot then mix the signal on the destination track back into the original track. To indicate this, the arrow switch then becomes inactive along with the new routing configuration. The rest of the mixer is conceived from over here as well. Allow the mixer to be altered by selecting options under the new mixer routing. One of the most noticeable features is the road map feature. This gives you accurate visual feedback on the levels of the current state of the track. Hovering around the various points on the meter will show detailed information about the wheelbase, each volume level, and the track. Each mixer track now also has a dedicated console button. Left clicking the button removes the track. And right clicking the solo button. To solo other tracks, left clicking the solo button as well. Right click once or twice on the solo track to unsolo all tracks. Each mixer script has an effects, enable and disable button. This will become active when you insert an effect into one of the track's 8 insert slots. Click the button to disable all effects on the track. Underneath the effects button is the ARM disc recording button. Also, the track input and output drop-downs have been moved around to better reflect the flow of the signal. 2 additional filters have been added to the track properties box as well. Just next to the volume slider is the swap left and right channels button, and underneath it is the phase invert button. Navigation within the mixer has been improved also. Where before you had to select the bank of faders you wanted to edit, you can now move the slider at the top of the mixer window to reveal other tracks. You can achieve the same thing by scrolling with the wheel of your mouse to move through the tracks. The mixer itself is also resizable, allowing you to reveal as many tracks as your monitor can show. Tidying over from functionality in previous versions, you can also move through tracks by using the left and right arrow keys. The up and down keys will move you through 4 tracks at a time. The handling of plug-in effects has changed a little too. To show a plug-in effect window, just left-click as usual on the effect name. However, right-clicking the name will allow you to rename the effect. This is useful when you need to be reminded what a particular effect is doing on your track. Finally, a little bit of functionality from previous versions that you might not have been aware of. A mixer track can have its current configuration saved as a mixer state. By selecting File, Browse States from the Mixer Options menu, you will reveal saved mixer state preset files in the browser. You can then drag and drop these preset files directly onto your track. Similar to this is the ability to drag and drop presets for particular effects onto an effects slot. You can use this to quickly replace effects with completely different effects. One other thing that you might not be aware of is the Smart Disable for Effect plugins. When this is active, plugins will stop using CPU after 4 seconds of inactivity. The plugin will become active again the moment it receives a new audio signal. This is exceptionally smooth and without clicks on most effects, and will often cause a noticeable drop in CPU usage on your track. On long-time effect plugins such as Reverb, however, it is not useful and will cause dropouts at the tail of the reverb